Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cars and Coffee. We've got some really cool things to talk about today. Urethane and Delrin. What's the difference when you use it, when you don't? We also have some good questions from the Speed Therapy Society, along with we talk about parts so much that the cars are getting jealous. So they did a little protest. They kind of drove around the building with signs. So we're going to talk about some cars today. And we've got two really cool ones to talk about. One is Chris Melitu's GT500 that we just really updated with some cool stuff. And the other is kind of a trip down memory lane to Philip's car, which was he entered it we built it up for the King of Street, and he did surprisingly well, although we think some politics kind of like kept them from winning. But aside from that, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee. And I'm here to answer your questions. So if you have any questions this morning, please send them in, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's see, where should we start? I think we should probably start with, why don't we answer some questions first, while we wait for more people to join us. Let's see. We've got, okay, this is an interesting question. Chris has a question on data collection. I'm looking at a Garmin, Catalyst, AIM Solo, Apex Pro, Race Logic, etc. I'm leaning towards the Garmin for ease of use and the robo coaching. Okay, unfortunately, I have zero experience with any of these, although we are reaching out to see if we can find anybody that does. Anybody that's out there that has any experience with these, please send a comment in or let us know. I'd be interested to know, because I just haven't had a chance to do work with any of these, but I know that there's some really cool things going on out there. So,
Kenny, we're coming looking at getting somebody from HP Tuners to talk about tuning, and then also hopefully doing a little bit of nonpartisan comparison.
Oh, cool. You know what? We were having technical problems. We had so many technical problems, I forgot to fill my coffee cup up. This could be a problem. I'll see if I can get by without it. No, I can't. Yeah, I will. Okay.
You are so funny. So.
Well, can you do a song and dance while I go get coffee?
I sure can. Hi, guys. So this is what I look like today. Let's see if I can share my screen there. I'm a brick wall. I'm at home recuperating still, getting much better. Hopefully I'll be back to work next week and back in the thick of things. I cannot believe Kenny's taking a break to get his coffee, but that's how addicted he is to coffee. And that's why we call this Cars and Coffee with Kenny Brown. So today should be a good show. We're talking GT500s today. Okay, they're done listening
to me. Now it is Cars and Coffee, not just cars. Although cars is our major subject this morning. Okay, working down the questions. Matt has a question. I already know the answer is going to be more ugga dugga, but has anyone else had problems getting the rear bolt off of a lower control arm? Okay, I'm guessing that it's rusted. So there's some things you can do. First of all, get some penetrating oil, WD-40, or there's a number of them out there, and just soak the daylights out of it overnight, even for a day, and see if you can get it off then. If that doesn't work, then try like a little propane torch and try to heat the nut up a little bit and see if that works. I mean, it's stuck bolts and nuts are always a problem when cars get a little age on them and get some rust. So if it's more than that, why don't you set up a 15-minute consult, and we can talk about it. Because if that's not the information you need, like I say, I do these 50-minute consults. If you have any questions, please call me. Let's see. Now this is going to lead into something else. Tim wanted to know. He said, "I'm looking at the AGS 4.0 front and rear grip suspensions for S197, and he's curious why they don't work with Willwood brakes." I have a very good answer for that. First of all, you're making a great decision. I mean, the AGS 4.0, all you have to do is talk to anybody that's installed it. You get a decent set of springs and shocks on there, and the difference in handling is unbelievable. But so here's the reason. Now this is super heavy duty. This is a lower control arm. And what happens with a Wilwood brakes, it's the offset on the rotor is the problem. The offset in the rotor hits the control arm right down here. Okay, now a long time ago, we would actually mill some of this off at an angle down here so it would work with Wilwoods. But then I decided I didn't like that because we're just ruining some of the structural integrity. So we just don't do that anymore and just suggest that they won't work with Wilwood brakes. But it has everything to do with the offset on the rotor. It hits the lower control arm. Lower control arm, which has urethane bushings, which is, so we've had a number of, or Rich has had a number of people call asking about Delrin, putting Delrin in their car versus urethane. And I've got some information I'd like to share because Delrin seems to be a great big catchword. Everybody hears about Delrin. They have to have Delrin. Well, let's take a look at it. I mean, there's 3 different bushings that we use, bushing material that we use in our cars. I do use Delrin in some applications. I use a lot of urethane, and we use rod ends. Now, this is the urethane that we use, and here it's stiff, but we switched over the black urethane a number of years ago because the black is silicone impregnated, which makes them last longer and work better. But it's just listening to it. It's kind of like it's kind of dull. It's got some give to it. And you listen to Delrin, it's really, really hard. Delrin is a polymer. I can't tell you the chemistry on it, but the whole purpose of it is it is low wear, and it has some lubricating values. So it's used a lot in a lot of different things. I only use Delrin on suspension bushings, like control arm bushing. I only use Delrin on race cars, and that's because we take a lot of time to make sure that because this is so hard, we have to make sure everything is totally precise. Like front and rear is 100% in line, and the bushing and the control arm are a really close, perfect fit. Because what happens, there's no give in these things. If they're off, if it's just off a little bit, I mean, you probably wouldn't notice putting it together, but that'll put a load on it. And we just had somebody call Rich, I think last week or so, that had bought some control arms that had Delrin bushings in, and he hit a big chuck hole and just shattered a Delrin. I mean, Delrin only works if it's 100% perfect alignment and everything's square. Like when we do the Delrin bushings on the control arms of the race cars, the way I know it's ready is if I can lift the control arm up, it just kind of falls down at a gentle rate. You lift it up, it just falls like that. And I know I got it perfect. So these are what we use in the suspensions. This is actually for the IRS lower control arms. We use the urethane, and this is also the front rear bushing is as well. Here's the thing. Urethane is only good for things that go up and down, okay? Things that move up and down is perfect for urethane. Urethane is not good for rear control arms. And the reason for that is, I mean, everybody, immediately urethane's a buzzword, they put urethane control arms on. Well, if you're going a straight line, if it's a drag car and you're using urethane, it's perfect. It works absolutely perfect, straight. However, if you need to turn and go around a corner, what happens is in lower control arms, the urethane's not going to flex very much. There can be a little bit of flex in it, but hardly any. So what happens is they'll only flex so far. At that point, it goes into a bind. And when it's a bind, you run a suspension, the back of the car gets loose. I've had a number of people over the years call and say, they just can't control the back of the car. I find out they put urethane bushings in, and it just doesn't work that way. I'll go back even further, way back when, 87 with the Celine cars. I mean, we won all four national championships in SCCA Pro Endurance Racing. Okay, the cars were, I mean, they won. They just dominated. And I told Steve I'd win a championship. I tried to win a championship within 3 years. Actually, I won 4 championships in 2 years. So, my job was done. And, we kind of split ways. Well, the cars went up to Detroit, and somebody up there had the great idea. I didn't know what I was doing. They tore the cars completely apart. Okay, these are cars that just won 4 national championships. Tore them apart and started over, and they put urethane bushings in the back. Well, the first day of testing, Rick Titus told me that you couldn't drive the cars. The back of the car was so loose, you just couldn't drive them. So urethane is not what's used at the back. What we use at the back are rod ends. Now, we've dropped down to, everybody that has lower control ends or rod ends in the aftermarket uses 3/4. I dropped down to 5/8, but when I did, this is the JMX in the FK line, and it's like the super premium 3-piece Teflon lined, super high grade rod ends. And the reason these are rod ends, these are all zipped together. I actually have them, there's like different tightnesses you can get. I also have them built extra tight because I'm going to lose something sooner or later. But with a rod end, you get full articulation. The rod ends move. You got front and back rod ends. The whole thing can kind of roll around. The axle can roll, the body can roll, and everything works together. We do use Delron in one suspension piece, and that's on our new rear suspension. It's just a part of it, and you can see the 2 Delron bushings. However, this is a super precise fitting, and this is a piece that this moves up and down like that. But it's just absolutely super precise in the fitting all the way through. Even in the aluminum, you probably can't see it. Even in the aluminum arm, we have like lubricating bronze bushings. So everything is super precise, and that's our application for. Here's how hard that is, Delron. So Delron is, have never really recommended or suggested Delron for street cars. I think you can get into more problems than good. The other thing is there's absolutely no give in Delron, which means you shorten up you close up your window, mistake window. Anytime you start doing too many things and your mistake window starts shrinking, you have the opportunity to make mistakes. So that's kind of like urethane. We use urethane a lot. The only things that move up and down, we use rod ends for anything that has to articulate. And of course, we use Delron in absolute precise. When everything is precise, that's where we use the Delron. So that kind of gets through the questions. Let's see. This is car day. We're going to talk about some cars. We've got a really cool car that we're working on, and I am going to try to. The reason I didn't have my coffee is Carrie and I were trying to do the share thing, and we're having a really difficult time. So I'm going to try it. If it doesn't, if I can't get it to work, it carries my backup. Okay. Have I got it, Carrie? I don't know if I've got it up or not.
You've got it. It's
okay. Here we go. Now I can only go one way. Everything is going funky this morning on our technology. So it must be a moon phase, or maybe Jupiter's in the wrong spot. So
it's actually Mercury retrograde right now.
No wonder. That explains it all. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cars, because here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. That I'm a car builder first, and we've got great parts. Well, why do we have great parts? Because when I build cars, if there's nothing in the market that I need to make the car better, I build it. That's how our whole parts program came into existence. Is I needed to make things better, I built my own parts. So that's why on our website you don't see like 23 different control arms or anything like that, because the only thing that's on our website are the exact same parts that I use in the cars that I build. That way, you know, we have tremendous technical support. If somebody calls in and has a question, well, boom, we do this stuff every day. We install it every day. We don't have guys who are looking in the catalog and reading what the parts manufacturer says. So, I mean, that's the big difference in our program. We're kind of like backwards. A lot of other people are a parts company first, and then they'll take parts from the parts company and put it onto a car and call it special. Well, we're a car company, and I build great cars. There's, I think, over 500 serialized Kenny Brown cars out there, and thousands of others that we've updated or worked on. But you know, we're a car company first, and the parts program flows out of the cars. So we're kind of opposite of everybody else. And here's a couple of really good examples. Ironically, both of these are GT500s, and we'll just kind of, okay, fingers crossed I can make this work. Okay, this is kind of like an overview of the different car models we have. In the S550, we still do conversions and serialize 550s, 197, and 99 to 04 SN95 IRS Cobras. Because as many of you know, we're the only people that really know anything about the IRS and the Cobra and still support it. In fact, we're doing crazy business. We're having a lot of, the big thing now is, I think we've got 5 IRS carriers down in the other building waiting to be updated to get the geometry changes. And we actually have made, we cut the back mount off that goes on the frame rail in the back because it's huge, it's clunky, it weighs a lot, and it gets in the way, especially if you have bigger tires. And we whack that off. We just put a bracket on there that bolts straight to the frame rail in the back. We've recently modified that with some extra holes so it can be bolted to a Fox. We've got a whole, the big thing right now seems to be putting an IRS in a Fox car, which I think is just cool as can be. So we still do the IRS, and you know, we've got like the GT-ST, which would be like a sport touring package, which even though it's a sport touring, it's totally capable of the track. And then we have the GT4 CS Club Sport, which is kind of like that's a great track car, just absolutely great track car that you can still drive on the street. It's not a problem. And then we do an S2, which is supercharged, 700 and God who knows how many horsepower on the 550s. We're just doing the GT4 S2 would just be on the 550s right now. And then we have our top of the line track cars are the GT4 CSR and the 550. I don't know if many of you have seen Maryland. In fact, that's Maryland in the picture next to me. That's absolutely killer track car. And then in the 197s, we're still doing the GT4 RS, which is kind of like what my Ruby was, my car. So I mean, we're still doing cars, and you know, if you've ever driven a Kenny Brown car, you'll never forget it. I guarantee it. Oh, boom! So here's Chris Melitu's Cobra. Now this is interesting. This is before we modified his brake ducts. He came in for some stuff, and he was using these little teeny things for brake ducts, and the hoses were off, and his brakes, the rotors were blue. They got so hot. So what we did, we actually cut this out and put a NACA duct right in here, and took the NACA duct, and then we curved that back to the brakes, and it looks really cool. I should have got a picture of that, but it was kind of like a custom one-off that we did that is going to work like crazy. Okay, so the subject is, you know, what are we working on now? And it's Chris's GT4 CS. It's a GT500 and makes a lot of power. Okay, so it's kind of going to go over the content to give you an idea what's in a CS. Of course, we've got the matrix and jacking brace, with the jacking rails and matrix brace, which stiffen the chassis. It's got a 4-point cage with a rear seat delete. AGS 4. Should be 4.0 front grip kit, and a 4.5 rear grip kit. That's the newest rear suspension. And GRZ1 coilovers. with custom springs, like we're running 650 springs front and rear on Chris's car. And of course, Forge line wheels, which are top of line wheels with Michelin Sport Cup 2 tires. So, I mean, you see, this is a pretty serious car. And it gets even more serious because he's got the Kenny Brown Bear 6-piston race brakes front and rear. That's with a 14.125 rotor, 2-piece slotted rotor. And of course, the brake ducts. And then with the reason it's here, we updated the rear end because he wants race brakes in the back. And the 8.8 axles have C-clips, which I talked about in a few weeks back. A C-clip axle, which means as to hold the axle in place, the axle slides in the differential. You drop a little C-clip in, pull it back, and then the pin for the differential goes in between them. But there's always a little play. And if you're running big brakes on the rear and you've got a C-clip, what happens is you go around the corner and that axle moves ever so slightly. And you get brake knockback, which means the first time you come up to a corner, you have to pump the brakes up to get the pads back on the rotors. So to counter that, what we've done is we've actually upgraded the ends of the 8.8 with the big 9-inch Torino bearings and 9-inch axles, which bolt into place, and they don't move; they're solid. So that was the update we just did, and that's. I mean, for a GT500, we've got a couple of people making big horsepower in GT500s, and some of them are concerned about the rear axle. So this is one of our updates. Our other update, we actually have Strange build a special Kenny Brown spec 9-inch road race rear end with lacking like the spring seats and some other brackets that we don't need, that's a serious piece of kit. I'm not done. It's got 752 horsepower and 735 pounds of torque. It's basically just through a bigger supercharger and a good tune. And I mean, that's pretty decent power. And then it's got a Bassani X-Pipe with high flow cats and 3-inch cat back exhaust, which sounds amazing. And then we've done quite a bit of aero to this car. It's got the carbon front splitter. It's got a carbon race hood that isn't here yet. The one we ordered, they screwed up and they sent the wrong year hood. So they're having to make another one. We'll probably just have that drop shipped to Chris. It's going to have the carbon race hood, the Tiger hood that my late son Paul developed, and carbon side splitters and custom front wheel wickers, which you'll see in a little bit, and a carbon fiber high efficiency 3D wing, which you'll see. And of course, we have to have our triple pass radiator for any time we increase horsepower. Every car we build, we put the triple pass radiator in. That has tremendous cooling capability. Just for example, we had a customer with a GT350 at Road America who was running pretty hot, and he put the triple pass radiator in, and it dropped his water temperature 30 degrees. I have another customer in Texas whose oil temperature was high, and it dropped his oil temperature 20 degrees. So it's great. It's an OE replacement. It drops right in. We've got them for SN95, S197, and 550 cars, and it's a triple thick, triple pass with 18% more cooling surface than other 3-core radiators. And of course, the brake ducting with the custom inlet I talked about, and carry through this in there, Kenny's secret tweaks. Well, I would tell you about them, but they're secret. And we just also installed Cobra seats and harness, and of course, it's got a short throw shifter. So here's a little bit of the front aero. This is the front fender fences or splitters that we put on, and the reason for this is pretty simple. If you were to look at a car head on, you'd see that the front fascia curves in at the bottom, and if you're looking dead on, you can actually see the tire sticking out here at the bottom. Well, what happens is the air comes around this corner, it sees the tire, and it deflects inside the fender well, which starts building pressure, which we don't want. So by putting this fence out here, then you can't see the face of the tire anymore. So the air is going to go around it, and because it's kind of like a wicker, it's going to create low pressure behind it, which means it's going to pull air out from underneath the front fender well, which, you take air out that reduces the pressure and you create more downforce in the front. So that's why we do it. We do it for, on some cars, we do it front and back. It's something we do, kind of custom in the shop, car by car basis that works really, really well. And here's the side splitters. And this little thing, we put these little, you can't see that, it's got like 3 little arrows on it. And what that is, that's for jack placement. All you have to do is stick the jack under. See, I got the jacking rails. You roll the jack under there, and once you jack it up, find the jacking rails one time and jack it up. And what you do is you put a piece of tape or mark the jack right here where that edge is. So all you have to do is put the jack into the mark on the jack and jack it up, and boom, the car's in the air really fast. I mean, we mark all of our cars for jacking points. It's something it started with the Celine program in '86, and we've just carried it through ever since. Okay, and we've also did the rear diffuser. This is carbon, and it looks pretty cool. The whole purpose of the rear diffuser is to tidy up the air that's flowing underneath the car. So when it gets to the back here, it doesn't tumble. It actually kind of smooths it out a little bit. The other thing too is the diffuser can actually, by tidying up the air coming underneath the car, the diffuser can actually help make the rear wing more efficient. And speaking of rear wings, this is the 3D carbon wing. And it's 3D because you can see the center section is raised. You can see it here too. Well, the reason it's raised is especially on sedans. I mean, the air is coming over the top of the car and down the back, but air starts to separate at the rear window. It starts to separate a little bit, and by having this raised section, it actually helps entice the air to flow under the wing, rather than like a standard single plane wing would be just straight across. By having this raised section, it helps get the air to flow underneath the wing, so it makes more downforce. Okay, here as you can see, we just put the new Cobra seats in and the Impact 6-point harnesses with cam lock release, and the 4-point bar, which is it's a great piece. We actually put the straps for the harnesses. We wrap right around that bar, and it adds a whole bunch of rigidity to the center of the car. It's a great little piece. We have them for S197s and S550s. And of course, the Forge line monoblock wheels. I mean, they're just the 19-inch wheels. I mean, they're if you're looking for just a premium top wheel, Forge line is it. I mean, there's Forge line wheels on most of the like the IMSA sports cars. I mean, their racing wheels are renowned, and most of the field of even the Daytona 24 Hours, you're gonna see a lot of Forge line wheels. I mean, that's a great package. I got introduced to Forge line back in '94 when I moved to Indianapolis. Steve, who runs the company, just showed up at our doorstep one day with a set of wheels, and the very first Forge line wheels, and they were light, they look good. So we put them on Old Blue, and they're still on there. And that's started a relationship that's been going on for obviously a lot of years. Okay, coming up, I'm going to do some tips on purchasing a trailer, things that you might want to look at if you're going to purchase a trailer, new ones. We have a company that custom builds trailers for us, and this is actually one of the trailers we had custom built. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about just some tips on trailers. Okay, here we go. Moments in time. This is time to sip some coffee because this is Cars and Coffee. So you see the car, and now I have my coffee. This is kind of a cool car. Philip Myers GT500 RS. He built for King in the Street. He also ran, I think, a couple other high-speed races and did really well with it. And it's basically, there's nothing super special, just all of our basic stuff. same chassis suspension. It's under Chris's car. You can also see the forged line wheels and 6-piston brakes. So it's kind of like, it's just nothing out of the ordinary, just our standard great stuff. And in the King of Street, he did surprisingly well. In fact, he did better than they actually give him credit for. But he lost out because he only had 848 horsepower. So he got a low score on his horsepower. There was 2 other guys that had like 1,300 and 1,200 horsepower. But that's just, it goes to show you that, in like the magazines, they're all drag racing focused. So it's all about horsepower, not about anything else. Well, Philip finished 4th and 1 point out of 3rd. Second and third tied at 84 points. And the first place guy had 86 or 87, I can't remember. But he got like big numbers for horsepower, and it wasn't so good anywhere. If you did eliminate the horsepower category, Philip would have won by a wide margin, because one of the things is the ride and drive. We think that this is just suspicion that he wasn't like one of the normal drag race guys, he only had 848 horsepower. But as far as the drive, I don't know if Kara put this into the PowerPoint, but I'm going to read the comments on driving. This is right from the editor of the article. So when it comes to bringing a car to a halt, the brakes were outstanding. Bare 6-piston brakes front and rear. You could probably look at the brake pedal and the car would stop. Not only that, but thanks to the aforementioned Kenny Brown suspension and chassis upgrade, Philip Shelby is probably the best handling King of Street car ever. I think that's a pretty bold statement. Many cars feel like there's a front end and a back end, many times working against each other. Philip's car, however, felt like one solid unit, with the front and the back working together in unison to handle the curves and keep coming back for more. That's pretty cool. The interesting thing about, obviously we had great, the good brakes on there, but what they don't realize is that the super braking capability came from the geometry and suspension. With the anti-dive we put in the front with the front grip kit, and the anti-squat we put in the back with the rear grip kit. I mean, the cars brake almost flat. It's pretty cool experience. One of my cars, in fact, we did an event at Audubon, and Steve Smith? I can't remember his last name, Smith, but he's a big-time Chevy guy, big-time drag racer. He was there representing, I think, Carcraft at the time, and he was reluctant to go on track because he wasn't really a track type guy. So he took Ruby, my car, and he was going to just do 2 laps. Okay, let's just say he was having so much fun, he missed the checker flag and got an extra lap in. But he wrote an article for Carcraft that he just was blown away by the brakes. He made a comment something about when he hit the brakes for the first time, all those innards sloshed to the front of his body. But yeah, a lot of people when they drive, if they do the upgrades, the AGS 4.0 suspension and head to the track, 2 things happen. The first thing that happens is they'll hit the brakes, they'll come up the high speed down the straightaway, they'll hit the brakes, then they have to hit the gas, drive up to the corner, and hit the brakes again because the car stopped so short. The next thing that most people that happen is when they turn in the corner, they actually drive over the curb because the car turns so sharp. So I guess I'm talking about parts too. So, Carrie did put that in there. I think maybe Brad's gonna put the link, this link up for.
You can click on the link on the bottom, the blue.
Yeah.
On the screen, yeah. Click on that.
Okay, now I have to figure out. Well, I see it, but I don't think anybody else does.
No, nobody else sees it, so that's okay. But that is just a link to the article in Power Auto Media, which is Stang TV, I think. So it's a pretty good article.
And I think it goes to our blog too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so the article is actually on the blog.
I can put it up if you want me to.
Okay, well, let me get through this and we'll put it up at the end. Or is there any more to this?
Scroll down. I don't think there is. That's it.
That's it. Okay. So why don't you try clicking on it and see if you can get that up to come up.
Do you see it?
Yep. Why can you do it and I can't?
Because I'm magic.
Yeah.
The magic touch.
Yeah. Actually, she's working from home today. As you know, she's got a back injury, so she's taking it easy. So I'm here all by myself. So I was actually panicking before because I couldn't get some of the speed, the StreamYard things to work. So, okay. So if you can just put the link, can you put the link in the?
Yep, we can put the link. I think Brad or Bridget are going to put the link in the comment area. So if you guys want to read this article, it's pretty good article. So I'm going to unshare it now. And this is on our blog section on our website. So.
Yeah, to get to it though, it's kind of tricky. You have to go into Tech Tips, and all the way down the bottom it says blogs. So it's kind of almost hidden. We're working at fixing that though. Okay, boom. I think, get my list out. I think I covered everything.
And it is time for questions. I did not post the time for questions comment, but if anybody's interested in a question, just post it in the comments and Kenny will answer it.
Okay, have we got any questions so far?
No, but Cliff has a really good comment on the tuning data loggers. Here's, do you want to read it, Ken, or do you want me to?
Let's see it.
I'll read it. Data loggers. Years ago, I used a TrackMate system, was figure outable. Recently, I've used AIM. The MXL is in the Mustang. I've also got an AIM Solo 2. Both are difficult to figure out. Oh, and it's possible, but following the logic is not, to me. It's not that straightforward. It's definitely not plug and play, but it has pro level data if you're into that kind of stuff. No, he emphasizes no. What data you want before you buy anything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Figure out what you're looking for. Here's the thing about data is a lot of people get really wrapped up in data, okay? And they can do like data overload. They can spend so much time focusing. When you collect data, I mean, it's a massive amount of information. And the problem is you have to figure out of all that data you collect, just how much of it you want to use. Because there's some stuff that makes, you would never use, but it's there. Like for pro racing, I mean, you need a lot of data, and you've got engineers specifically looking at all the data. But for track days, you want it as simple as possible. You want just the basic stuff. Accelerator, braking, corners, all just the things that have to do with driving. And then what you can do, you can start overlaying your laps to see what's working better and what's working not. So yeah, I think kind of figure out what you want first, and then look at all the features of the different ones you're looking at, and see if any of them just stand out as being having more of what you're looking for. And first, look for something that's simple. It's simple and basic. Like Cliff said, the AIM system that's in the FR500S is a professional grade race system. I mean, you can get a lot of data off it, and you get just lost in the data. So I would look for something that's really simple. If you want to go racing, then the AIM is your choice. I think AIM also has some lesser data stuff. It's been a while since I looked, but I think they might have some lesser sites. Okay. Still no questions. Well, this is
no, I have a comment, but if you have any questions, please, this is last call for questions. So add your questions. Christopher has a comment on data logging as well, which I think is interesting. He says, the best data system for me is the iPhone plus Kiwi ODB2 plus HP Tuner's Track Addict app. And plus it's plus he added a cheap phone stand. You get video plus good telemetry. That's a really good tip. So I know Track Addict is pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's on your phone and you don't have to wire anything into your car. You just kind of set it in your little thing on the dash and away it goes. Okay, this is the last call for questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up for the day way early. I guess I didn't talk long enough or fast enough or slow enough, but I think I got everything. We got the Willwood brakes, we got the Delrin and the urethane. My goodness, that is everything. I did really well this morning.
Well, I find it interesting. Herstifer lives in Bulgaria, as people have been watching the show for a while know that. And he actually is going to a really cool event next weekend on the, I think it's next weekend on the 30th. And I watched it on his Facebook channel, and it was all in his language, and all it was American muscle cars that I think are going to be at this event. It was pretty darn cool. So thanks for sharing that, Herstifer. Here we have a couple questions here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Frank, any good systems to have a lifetime traction circle while driving? Better to just drive or use a traction circle?
Boy, that's a good question. What he's talking about is in the academy. We had Doug Vanderbrink, who's like the top instructor at the Porsche school. He's driven just about everything, from stock cars to endurance cars to sports cars. Actually, we met him when he was drifting, so that's his heritage. But he did a master class on driving, and he talked about the traction circle, which is it's something Mark Donahue came up with a long time ago, and it just talks about that you can only ask the tire to do so much in the traction circle, whether it's accelerating, braking, or turning. And any good system to have lifetime traction circle while you're driving. I don't have an answer, but that's a really great question. That's a good question. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that. But in the same token, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. Looking at something while you're driving is not a good idea. You want to be focused on driving. You want to look at the data afterwards. But you just, anything that distracts you when you're driving is a bad thing. Because you're going you're going really, really fast, and things happen super fast, like in a blink of an eye. So it's best if you focus on your driving and then look at the data afterwards. Okay.
Okay, Colby has a question. Are the arrow pieces on the front of the Chris's blue car available, or just one-offs?
We've had that discussion. We kind of make them per car, and I think we've got. Did we do a little video thing on Arrow and Cliff's car, Carrie?
Yes, we did. And we're going to be posting that up on the Speed Therapy Society page, so look for it there. But yeah, we do have it on the Arrow. And go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, it's something we've looked at. The materials aren't that expensive. It just takes a bunch of time. Yeah, send Carrie a note, and we'll take a look at that, because I think Kurt may have made patterns. I need to check and see if he made patterns first, and if he did, then we might be able to come up with some wickers for you.
I'm pretty sure he made patterns. I think we're just trying to discuss how we would ship like the front splitter. The side wickers would not be a problem, but there is a little difficulty, I think, in installing the little corner piece. Is that correct, Ken?
Yeah, and what we did on Cliff's car, we actually extended the splitter on both sides, because to me the splitter in the FR500S it's kind of like an off-the-shelf commercial type thing. And it's not as effective as it could be. What we actually did, we added more to the outer edges on the front, which you'll see in the video, because you can get more grip on the side of the cars than in the front, which is why if you look at like the big endurance cars, they actually have their splitters are on the side and have it's kind of open in the middle, and that's because they're inviting air to come under the car so they can use the under the car downforce. Use the aerodynamic under the car to create downforce, and they're making front downforce in the corners. So what we did is we extended Cliff's splitter, and then to the point where we could put the wickers up, so that they went together. So that's one thing we'd have to look at, because if your splitter kind of tucks in and doesn't come out far enough, yeah, we need to probably look at them. I'll probably need to send us a picture of your splitter. That might be a good starting point. Okay.
Okay, a couple other just comments here, which is again on the track apps, and I'll just post these real quick. Brad says that Track Addict is an app from HP Tuners, and as Herschel pointed out, it does work very well. He also says that most track apps include the friction circle feature.
Okay, there we go.
And then Frank, he thanked you. He'll keep his eyes forward. And another one, does it make any sense to use carbon for the aero pieces, given that they will take some abuse and are costly to replace?
It depends on which aero pieces. We use a lot of ABS, to be quite frank, because again, ABS will take abuse. The carbon is nice. It creates a really good look. It's super light. I mean, there's a use for carbon and there's use for ABS. Most of the time, we'll do on our track cars, our serious track cars that run really low, we'll use an ABS front splitter. We get it about that thick, and we make our own design, and then do the side fences. And then some cars if it's easy, we'll just use ABS down the side for the side splitters if there's a flat surface we can go to. Otherwise, sometimes we have to go to an aftermarket side splitter because there's not a flat surface. So the aftermarkets are designed to fit the rocker panels. So I mean, ABS is a really good choice, and it's a lot cheaper than carbon. Okay.
Okay, we have another question coming in, and this is again last call for any questions you want to ask Kenny today. Here we go. Christopher, question: can Kenny cover cooling for the S550? I installed a K&N air filter, but I'm thinking about front grill delete. Any tips?
I mean, the biggest tip is get a good radiator. The deleting stuff in the front, if it's kind of interesting, if you take too much stuff out of the front, then there can be, I'm just coming off the top of my head, you're going to have a lot of air going in there. And you need to be sure, if you do that, the sides of the radiator are blocked off completely, so no air can escape around it, because you're going to build a lot of pressure. If you got some level of a grill, it's going to kind of diffuse the airflow a little bit, and it's not going to be as big an impact on the radiator. But yeah, the best thing for cooling is just the radiator. I mean, like on the GT350 up at Road America, 30 degrees out of the water temperature. On Joe's GT350 down in Texas, 20 degrees out of the oil temperature. So, I mean, the radiator is the best thing to do. And then as far as the K&N air filter, yeah, if you look at, if you look at aftermarket, quote, cold air kits, make sure that they are segregated from the engine compartment. What drives me nuts is I see some of these cold air kits and they just have an air filter just sitting right there behind the radiator in the engine compartment. So what's it going to do? It's going to suck hot air in. So you defeat the whole purpose. You need to have a cold air kit that segregates the air filter from the engine compartment and is drawing air from the front of the car. And another thing I see some of these supercharged cars or turbo cars that they have the air filter right there in the engine compartment. And, all you're doing is sucking hot air. And hot air is only going to get hotter when you squeeze it, either in a turbo or a supercharger. So we use the JLT is what we use, and we've got them for the 550 cars. But I think it requires a tune, but I also think you can get the tune package with the cold air kit. But we had that on 1 week, and I mean it's a huge cold air kit. Plus it looks great. So. There we go.
You don't have me there to run to the shelves to get the cold air kit, do you?
Nope. Well, I don't even know where it is.
Okay, here we go. We have another question. By the way, next week is Memorial Day weekend. We are having a encore presentation. So Brad is going to be combining a number of Kenny's top Cars and Coffee sessions, and he'll be playing that all in within one session. So again, that's next Saturday. We'll have an encore presentation. Here is Dale. Let's see, Dale Kip. What size rims are required for your brake package? I really enjoy your show, whether I can hear it live or on Facebook.
Okay. Typically, we use 19s, but you can run 18s. 14-inch rotor will fit in an 18-inch wheel. Because the thing is, like most racing, as far as wheels, here's how I do my wheels. 18-inch wheels are for racing because, the great majority of race tires are 18-inch. We use 19-inch for track cars and street cars, and to me, 20 inches for show because there's a lot of mass, a lot of unsprung mass in a 20-inch wheel. But with 18-inch wheels, you can easily get in any of our brake packages with the 14-inch rotor. So, and yeah, if you need any more information, set up a 50-minute consult with me. I'll talk with you about it, and we can kind of get you, because we got like a bunch of different brake packages. They all work really well for the front. And if it's an S197, we got a cool brake package for the back, where we increase the rear rotor size to 14 inches with a 2-piece slotted rotor and retain the factory caliper, which just moves it out, which really, really improves the braking at the back of the car, especially if you have my suspension on there. So.
Okay, and Dale, I want to thank you for acknowledging that you watch it on Facebook afterwards. So I just want to let everybody know that we are simulcasting live to our YouTube channel, Kenny Brown Performance TV YouTube channel. There are 57 episodes of Cars and Coffee on there right now. Can you believe we've done 57 episodes? And you can watch all of those in replay if you want to have binge some weekend. Maybe next weekend would be a good weekend. Also, we're on Facebook, and we're on our Speed Therapy Society Facebook group page as well. So you can catch them live, or you can always catch them in replay mode. So, and also, if you would share with your friends, we'd appreciate it. We think Kenny gives valuable information, and we'd like to spread the word. There's another one, just a couple of comments from Joe, and then we are done. Right here, Joe Johnson, he said he installed a cover for his cold air filter on a Shelby, and he did this because he also installed hood vents.
So yeah, hood vents vented hoods are really, really almost, if you're serious, it's a must. Because what happens is this air comes, careening through the radiator. First of all, it gets hot and expands, and it goes into the engine compartment. And if you don't have a vented hood, the only place for that air to go is down, which means that you've got a lot of air going down under the front of the car. You're going to increase the pressure, and you're going to lose front grip. So by getting a vented hood, you do a number of things. First, you get the hot air out. Secondly, by drawing the hot air out at the top, all of a sudden you've got negative pressure under the car, not positive pressure, to add more front grip. So vented hoods are a wonderful thing. Yeah, I was just sitting here playing with this control arm, and people notice they've got one spacer size on one side, another spacer size on the other. The reason for that is the 197, the factory control arms are splayed outward at the front, and I won't get deep into the geometry. We did that in the academy for 2.5 weeks on geometry in the academy. But what I do is I offset them so they make them parallel, which impacts the roll a little bit, and it also makes it so there's no point of conversion like with splayed control arms, so that it's infinity. So all of a sudden we have we got the roll axis going parallel to the control arms rather than up in the air like in the factory car. I just thought I'd throw that in. Okay, quickly, we got anything else?
We have just a comment from Brad. If anyone has a topic they would like to see next week's special episode, please let me know and I'll grab it from the archives. So again, that's good to know. And then when Kenny comes back, we will be doing a special session on brakes. We're going to have a mini brake workshop, and we will be doing, he'll be sharing tips on how to buy the trailer, what to look for when buying a car trailer.
Okay.
And that is it.
Okay, well,
Good.
I got a couple things in closing. It's like we went from really nice 60-degree weather to boom 80s, like overnight. So it's really hot, which reminds me this is summertime. And I strongly urge everybody to pack sunscreen when they go to the track. High SPF sunscreen. I don't know if you can see it, these little splotches all over. I went to the dermatologist this week. I see the dermatologist every 3 months. And they kind of fry off pre-cancer things. It's ever since I lost my oldest son Paul the year after he won the GTS Championship and World Challenge to melanoma. I'm pretty paranoid, so I see the dermatologist every 3 months, and I strongly recommend everybody uses sun cream because I've seen how devastating melanoma can be. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's in Monaco this weekend. I got my DVR set. Later tonight, I'm going to watch free practice 3 and qualifying, which should be pretty good. I mean, this season's sort of heating up. The mid-pack, I mean, the difference between like first place and 6th or 7th are all running within the same second. The mid-pack racing is great. And of course, we got some really good battles at the front. So I got that set for today. And then I got the race recorded for tomorrow just because it's going to be kind of a special day. I'm going to make up my famous biscuits and gravy to go with Monaco. So if anybody doesn't know, Monaco's this weekend. Set your DVR. It should be a wild race. It's one of the few races that I would actually on my bucket list positively love to go to. I just think that'd be so cool. Anyway, I'll just close with that. So don't have any more questions. I talked about sunscreen. I talked about Monaco, and Carrie told you what's coming up. I'm glad I can at least have her a little bit. Trying to work without her the last couple of weeks has been really tough. As you know, she kind of, I almost can't work without her. So I appreciate her being here today. It really helps me out. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Get out and enjoy the weekend. Set your DVRs for Monaco, and don't forget Indy 500 next weekend. So this is kind of a big time of year for race. Of course, the city of Indianapolis is going to be crazy next weekend. So that's why I don't go out. Of course, we haven't been able to go out anyway for a long time. So anyway, I'm dribbling on. So I will see you all, and